Hi, and welcome to FrazlCast. Climb aboard the GNOME train.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
Please make sure to keep your limbs and experimental instruments inside the train at all times. And now, on with the show.
A podcast by a Blizzard fan gnome about World of Warcraft and geeky stuff. I promise you, they do talk about the World of Warcraft. They just go off the rails sometimes.
And today, we're going to go off the rails. Well, actually, no, not really, because we've had weeks where, we've had someone who's been a gamer and a geek and not playing World of Warcraft. But you're a geek who plays World of Warcraft. So, I'm feeling fancy today, feeling fancy and pretty, and I'm Frazley, and I am joined by the awesome Sil of Whispers of War.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I know, we've talked to Whispers of War and all that, and that's always fun, but I've never had you on this show, and it's great to have you here.
No, honestly, I'm honored.
And someone else that I'm honored to have their voice on this podcast is Epic and Sandy. Because Epic and Sandy, what time is it?
It's time to go around the table.
Great idea. What have you been up to?
Too much. Besides work, otherwise, if my boss sees this, she won't be happy if I don't talk about my work. So I've worked, even though I work from home now because of lockdown and all those fun things. I leveled too many alts in World of Warcraft.
How many are you up to now?
29.
Okay, so not quite needing another account yet.
No, but I do have 12 that need to be leveled, so I've already made them. They just need to be leveled. So, yeah. And I already had to prune it down a little bit because I reached my max. And then I thought, do I really like these characters? And yeah. I didn't. So I just chucked them out. But yeah, leveling far too many. So that's what I've been doing now recently. Because I've set myself that goal for Shadowlands. It's not going to happen, but I want to try. I watched a lot of horror gameplay walkthroughs on YouTube, and I do that while I draw because I quite like. It's almost like reading a book for me. So I see someone play a horror game when I'm too chicken shit to do it myself, and then I'm like, at least I can see what happens.
Yeah,
and it's just a lot of fun, and especially if the commentator is very entertaining. So that's been one of my go-to things as well. Works great for insomnia as well.
Which is interesting. I never would have thought horror would be relaxing for drawing.
It does. It gives me a little bit more, I don't know, sometimes inspiration to draw things. It's really weird, but I do that. It's not just horror things, but most of the time I kind of go towards the horror playthroughs. I also have to read a lot of books because you might be able to see it behind me. I have too many bookcases with so many books that I have not read, that I buy, but I don't read. So I'm trying to slowly work through that again. But I do notice that it's weird when you're reading. Sometimes you have a period that you're just devouring book after book. And then all of a sudden you're a bit like, okay, well, I don't want to read right now. I'm not in the mood for it. And then it takes a long time. And that's probably where I accumulate all these books from. So yeah, and of course I've played some with the DPS crew. We played Dead by Daylight, which was fun to stick with the horror theme.
I played that last Friday, and I think I'm actually going to be playing with everybody tomorrow on Fridays. It sounds like it's going to be a weekly thing. So
I hope so. I mean, my internet or my Steam was not happy with me last week, so I'm hoping to join you guys again. But that's a lot of fun, especially when we have people saying certain things like Steve and Nancy. That I have to admit, I laugh a lot when our team members do that. Yeah, and then I'm still deciding. I had the plans this year, like so many people had plans this year.
Yeah.
To start streaming again, but it has taken a bit of a backseat. I tried it again, and then as much as I enjoyed it, I do find it very, very hard to stay entertaining while streaming. Then I thought, do I want to record gameplay? But I feel like I'm not entertaining enough. So I'm like, I don't want to be one of those people who just sit there, just play their game and not interact and not say anything. But it's very hard when you don't have an audience who comes in to do anything. And then it's like, I feel like an idiot doing this. I don't want to do this.
I would say, from my own experience, I felt the same way that you're feeling. Like when I first started, I always thought, who would want to watch me? And part of it is just taking time, because you've got a personality and you are fun to talk to. So I think
Oh,
I think
you.
you would be a good streamer, but I can also see the idea of the gameplay because then you could put it into bite-sized chunks and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I do always feel like streaming is a long time commitment in one
Yes.
go. I feel like, I know some people stream short and that's on them, but I always feel like if you stream, you have to do at least an hour to 2 hours at a minimum. And I'm so flaky. I don't have ADHD. I don't think I do, but I get very easily distracted. I'm like that dog from Up. That's as soon as there's like squirrel, that's it.
Squirrel.
That's me. I'm like, I need to. Okay, yeah, I'm done now. I want to do something else, or the only thing I can commit to for 2 hours or even more is drawing, because that sucks me right in, and that's it then.
Would you be able to have somebody watch you draw? Because that's one thing I've seen Twitch have a lot of people doing is doing those casual drawing streams.
I could do it. I guess I could do it, because all you have to do really is angle a camera over your artwork and just draw, or have it on I guess from behind you to look on your screen. I could do that, but you still have to keep talking, and that's the thing that I do find a bit hard while I'm drawing, because I'm so in my own world.
Yeah.
And like I said, I like listening to things, or I like just now and again to distract myself. Maybe a chat would work, but I fear that I might be really boring while drawing because I get so into it.
Like,
but it might be like, it's like, oh, people have said stuff.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. So who knows? It might be something to get back into. But I feel like I'm just piling one thing after another of what I want to do and achieve. And I think at a certain point you can only juggle so much.
Yeah.
And I'd rather maybe be really good at one thing and then focus on something else. Also, I really apologize if you hear like lots of people coming down this hill, because it is about working time has ended. So a lot of people are like making noise on their motorbikes.
Hey, it just brings in the ambience and all that. So
if that's what you want to call it.
it'll probably get removed in post because I do run through Alphonics. So Alphonics is pretty good sometimes.
Hey, I don't feel so bad anymore.
Yeah. I have to say though, I am very impressed with RTX voice. I've seen people doing it, and like EJ is running RTX voice, and like Allie's running RTX voice, and it sounds really, really good.
It's something to definitely consider.
Just the algorithm that does for like real time voice. There'll be a day where like we're probably like planes flying overhead, and like we won't even know because we're just. That
would be amazing. But you know what my editing rule is, right? I don't really edit unless I have no other choice.
Yeah, I've actually been modifying my edit to like leave in some of that real feel, and plus all the time commitment because I want to play games.
Exactly. We have, we don't have so much time left in a day.
Yeah, I have spent way too many hours on Monday. Not way too many hours because I loved it. I was playing Ooblets, and I logged in around like 4 or 5 p.m. on stream. Did not stop till 11:30 p.m. that night. I was just having so much fun playing because it's such a cute game.
I agree. It's really adorable. It has something so innocent and so happy. It's just a very happy, feel good game.
And like you get dance battles, and I love how everything is all so cutesy, like the dribbly can, or like the fact that like you get gummies or you get wishies, and I mean, if you don't like cutesy stuff, it's not a good game for you, but I love cutesy stuff, so it fits for me. Fandang is asking, do you have your art anywhere that is viewable?
Ooh, that would be my Instagram. I think my Instagram is open to. I want to say open to the public. That sounds so weird, as if I'm a museum. But I think my Instagram is not set on like only friends or something. I think anyone can add me on that. I just don't know my Instagram by heart because I.
Okay. And I'll make sure to have it in the show notes so that way people can check it out.
Yeah, that would be great.
And WoW did mount runs and stuff like that. I have not really found any luck. I mean, I had fun chatting with people because I use WoW as kind of my just chatting because I get on there and we're just chatting with people like, how you doing and all that. So that to me is really what WoW is like. It's mindless. Unless you're in the beta and like you're trying to focus on the scenario. I'm in the beta right now and working on Bastion because we had the character wipe, so I had to do everything to get back up. And I've noticed they've fixed some bugs that I was running into when I first ran it. So Blizzard is doing bug fixes, which is good. You and I both love playing games. I mean, because we are WoW podcasters. And I want to know, how did you get into gaming?
I'll be honest. This is going way back, and I don't know how old I was, but perhaps saying that I had an Atari, That
Ooh.
might be a little bit of an indication. So I was born in the 80s. I can't remember how old I was when I got an Atari, but I received an Atari, I think, for my birthday once. And I started playing games. And I think the first games I had were Miss Pac-Man. Not Pac-Man, it was Miss Pac-Man. Frogger. And then you get the really vague titles that you're not even sure what you have to do. I remember one of them was Snow Hunt or Ski Hunt or something, and I thought I had to use the little man to hit into things, but actually I had to avoid those things. I didn't know that as a kid. I thought, oh, well, this ends quickly constantly. Yeah. No idea. And that for something that only has one button also to use. And then it slowly started from that to Nintendo. I never got a NES, but I did get a Game Boy, the brick with the, what was it, 20,000 batteries that you had to put in.
Yes. I had a color, but yeah, it was the same way.
It was, heavy. But I loved that thing. I absolutely adored it. And it was so, it was stupid. I remember that Super Mario, for instance, didn't have, or Mario World, or the first game that you got in your Game Boy for Mario, it didn't have a save at all. So you had to keep playing. Yeah. And I remember that my mom said, okay, you have to go to bed now. Because I was in primary school, so you have to go to sleep now. Okay. And I had to leave my Game Boy on because I was so far ahead. And I thought, I'm not going to miss out. And then I woke up really early to start playing and trying to finish the game.
Oh.
Yeah. That's how it started.
I'm surprised the battery didn't die overnight.
Yeah, I wish I could have stayed up all night and game, but I don't think my mum would have been happy with that.
No, not at all. And like I've heard like sleep, though I don't always get enough sleep like I should, but I've heard sleep like recharges the mind. So I mean, maybe parents had wisdom, but it's gaming. It's like who wants to
gaming over sleep?
Exactly. So from there, how did you get into the world of Blizzard / World of Warcraft?
So that is also, interesting story. I guess it was an ex-boyfriend. So the guy I was with at the time he played Warcraft 3 and said, oh yeah, they're getting a new MMO and I'm going to try it and you need to play with me and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, yeah, why not? Yeah. But I was very hesitant because I'd never played an online game and I grew up with the whole don't put your card details on the internet because you're going to be robbed blind. So don't do that. They're all scamming you. And so I was very hesitant with it, but I did play it on the second day of launch in Europe because on the first day when I bought it, I was so freaking thick that I didn't realize that when it said when you have to put your card details in, I was a bit like, well, they advertised, oh no, you don't have to because you have game cards that you can buy. But of course, the shop didn't have the game cards yet because they came out later. Yeah. You could just put a fake number in. I had no idea. So I was like all going up like a proper Karen in the shop, like, you said I didn't have to do this. And I was just a bit like, well, when do I get my game cards? And they said, well, they're coming in like later or something. So I went back and then, of course, I looked on the internet, which is my go-to thing now if I don't know what to do. But 15 years ago, that was not the thing that I did. So I actually played the second day by putting in just a random number for the card, and that was fine. And yeah, I got addicted pretty quickly, and I've been playing ever since. And
I take it no breaks?
There was a break during Cataclysm. I was not happy with the state of the game in Cataclysm, so I took a break. I think it's never been really long. I think the longest might have been between 6 or 8 months.
Okay, yeah.
But that's also because I have a big fascination for other MMOs, and I like playing other MMOs also to see what they offer. But 9 out of 10 times it means that I want to go back to World of Warcraft because it's so familiar. Oh,
Final Fantasy 14 has had me tempted to go back again because I was playing that for quite a few years, and I enjoyed my time there. And with what they've been having recently, it's like I see my friends playing and I'm like, I want to go.
Yeah, like games that pulled me away for a little bit were, I don't know if you remember Warhammer Online.
Yeah.
That pulled me away for a little bit. The Secret World is still one of those games that I return to.
Nice, that game.
Because I love that kind of world. I love the dark myths and things that are out there, and anything that has to do with Cthulhu or that's so my bag. So I love that one, and Elder Scrolls is always one that I go to. I tried Final Fantasy, but there is just something with Final Fantasy that doesn't click for me. So I don't know what it is. I think I just don't vibe with the story. That's probably it.
It's definitely one that like I've heard other people have the same one. Like it vibe for me, it has to make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's a certain type of lore I just can't get into. So that's why.
So what would you say is your play style in WoW?
It's PvE.
Okay.
I'm very much PvE/RP. And I do like a bit of raiding, but I don't like the state of raiding with how we've transgressed, I guess, in World of Warcraft, because I used to be a very hardcore raider back in the day. Vanilla and Burning Crusade and Wrath, I loved raiding. And then it became, and I still find that with WoW, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me, and that's fine. I find it very complicated now with gear and what you have to do to get certain best in slots, and how much corruption, for instance, you need, and you need to. I'm all like, oh, fucking hell, I don't want to do my homework for this as well. I've quit school for years now. I don't want to do that again and simming my character. And so for me, that's just not fun anymore. But my guild is lovely, and they carried my ass all the way to heroic.
Nice!
So, I did get the mount, and then I said, I'm not going to bother you anymore with carrying me, but thank you very much.
That's been one thing that's kept me from raiding, is all the extra work. I like all the other stuff in the game, and I want to go into a raid, and like I've been into a couple raids, but it's also the feeling of like, I don't know if I have the time or the willpower to do all the extra stuff outside, and I don't want to let the raid team down.
Exactly, I think that's it. And I know that I'm a liability, and not because I'm a shit player, but I know that I'm not pushing out the numbers I should be doing because I don't want to do the homework for it. I just want to have fun. And I always said to my guild, is my number one priority is I'll try not to die immediately, and do a little bit of DPS in between. But yeah, so it is PvE. That's where I'm leveling so much. The second reason for that is because I like RP. I love creating stories for my characters and jumping into RP scenes, not the gold share ones. I'm perfectly happy for people to do that. It's free world and everything. Just, you pay your subscription fee, so do whatever makes you happy. But I like to make stories with my characters and just join random RP in Stormwind or in Orgrimmar.
That's definitely been one that I dipped my toes into RP for quite a while, and I had fun. It was fun going through. I never got deeply ingrained in RP, but I had fun trying to create a character. And a while back, Tosh had me on Half a Report, and I had to RP a story of Frazley, and it was fun kind of thinking like, okay, what would Frazley's backstory be? There's a whole novel writing. I've got friends who have written novels on their character outside the game. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, and from that, it's a slippery slope to D&D.
Oh, absolutely. And I've been enjoying D&D, and this weekend, hopefully I'm getting back into it because that is a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see where Blizzard is trying to add some of the D&D aspects, like with the covenants and these different abilities, but I also see that maybe that WoW might not be the best place to add in all those.
Balance is very difficult, isn't it? Because in D&D, you're very forced to work with your group. Yeah. And in WoW, you don't have to. And if you do, some of them are randomers that might not be that nice. I don't think that the game system works for it. Sometimes I do wish that they implement the simpler things for D&D or some games where you level up, that they go, well, put a point in, I'm just saying something like charisma or a point in agility or something like that, or your dex. Yeah. Just because, that simplifies it for me. At least you do have that freedom to choose. I don't know. It's not like you have to do a cookie cutter build. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Anarchy Online reminds me of a game that did that. Now, the funny thing in Anarchy Online, when I did it, I put all my skills into riding my mount faster, so I could fly everywhere. I was shit at everything else, but I could get around anywhere fast.
Hey, if you need to get out of a situation, you can. That horse will fly.
Absolutely. So, in gaming, what would you say is one of your favorite gaming memories?
The most fun I've had, and this was actually funnily during streaming. I've had several moments, but I think one of the fun moments was when my cat has a tendency to jump on my chair. people who listen to this can't see it, but you see a lot of like nail imprints in the back of my chair. She does that. And at the time I was playing Alien Isolation. And one of the indicators that the alien is still in the room is that you see the tail, or when it's occupied with something, the tail curves over. So my cat was sat on the chair, but people couldn't really see that. All they saw was this black like tail curving around my neck, and people were like, "What the freaking out?"
Oh, that's great.
So that was really funny. But yeah, she's done it. And then during that game also, I once had the, when I was still living in an apartment block of flats, the fire alarm once went off. And I literally felt like my heart just leapt on my desk when that happened. Yeah, that's not great for horror games.
No, not at all.
One of the other memories that I had was bawling my eyes out at the ending of The Walking Dead, the first season.
Oh, yes!
I cried so much, and I thought, okay, don't cry. And then the music started, and I just started crying so much. And I think when a game does make you feel like that, I think they've done something really good. So, yeah, I think there's many, many amazing gaming memories.
One thing that I always like about streaming those memories is the clips that you can do, because I've got a clip button. If somebody doesn't catch it, I try to clip moments, and it's fun sharing those memories, because, like, for me, gaming was always, I loved seeing my siblings playing on the couch, and like none of my siblings got to see me play games, because by the time that I was old enough, they were all out of the house. So it's fun sharing that, and stuff like what you shared, right? Like your chat sees something.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're having fun. But you can share your memories though on a podcast. You have made an amazing contribution to the WoW podcasting community. That you are the founder of Girls Gone WoW, and also now run the podcast Whispers of War.
Yeah, that's true. It was actually scary to see that I created Girls Gone WoW 10 years ago.
Wow, yeah.
That made me feel really old when I saw that. But yeah, I did it for several years. I gave it a little bit of a start. But, I have to give credit to EJ and Raven, because they really made it their own, and they've put it where it is right now. Yeah. So they did an amazing thing, but it was my first steps into podcasting, and I think, was it show 140 or something, or 50 that I left, around that? I think around that. It was a really amazing experience, and then I had a few years not to really podcast, because a lot of stuff was happening in my life. Like, I met the guy I'm with now, so I've been with for several years, and I wanted to focus on that relationship, and I know it sounds daft, but, that was important to me at that time. So, yeah, and then all of a sudden I got the bug again to do a podcast about World of Warcraft, because I got really back into World of Warcraft as well. So that's what happened.
And I saw a tweet by Ro this week, and it was cool to see that Girls Gone WoW is one of the few still podcasting WoW podcasts. That, like, more have come. I've come into the fold since then, but it's amazing to see. How does it feel to see something that you started still going along?
Of course, I'm really proud that I've once created it, and it's amazing that it's still going. So no, I am like baffled that it's one of the oldest, because I thought there were much older ones and many more. But yeah, no, I'm very I take my hat off for EJ and Raven for doing that. Absolutely. I was
talking with them last week, and like, you can just tell that they love doing it, and that's one thing. I was listening to a podcast this week, and like, I don't ever want to dish on podcasts. I won't mention the name, but certain podcasts you listen to, and they're missing a passionate voice. And I hope that I'm still the same way that they are when I'm at that time, because yeah, you need passion. You need to be showing.
Yeah. And that was exactly the reason why I left, because I fell out of love with Warcraft, and like I said, I had other priorities, so I didn't want to put my time into WoW, and you could tell, and I didn't want the podcast to suffer, and I thought it wasn't fair on Raven and EJ either, and this way also they could do whatever they wanted with the podcast. That I thought that was the best thing to do, and I'm happy I did it now, because I think it works great for them, and what I'm doing is just different because this works better for me.
And now that you're back doing Whispers of War, for those who may not know, what is Whispers of War?
It's a very chaotic podcast.
You're describing this show. You're describing FrazlCast. It's very chaotic here.
It's the same concept I've always kind of done. So it's just talking a little bit about what I'm up to in World of Warcraft and my opinions about things, because I always have an opinion about anything. And if I have to believe my boyfriend, and then I try to interview someone from the community, and it can be anyone. It can be a content creator. It can be just anyone, like a random gamer who just wants to come on, just anyone. Then afterwards, I talk a little bit about a question of the week that I might throw in there if I have time, and then I don't forget. And that's really it. So I think the interview is like the most important thing for me, because I enjoy talking to people about their experience in World of Warcraft. And I always feel like it's good that other people, they might struggle with certain things, not just the game, but certain things, see and hear certain types of players, because we're so diverse. That's one of the things why I really wanted to do the interview, because no one wants to just hear me talk.
I feel the same way about me, not about you, about me. I could listen to you talking forever, but I was talking with Demi of a Third Faction show, and she brought up an amazing point about interview podcasts, about the community, is that it's amazing hearing the stories. It's fun giving people a voice who may not want a podcast, or as Demi's seen it, and as I've seen it, they start on the show and they're like, oh, podcasting is fun. And then they start podcasting. Because I've seen it happen.
Yeah, I had the same thing. Or I've had guests say, oh, you gave me that little bit of confidence now to actually podcast. And I think that's great, because I'm all for people, you might discover that it might not be for you. And that's fair enough, but at least you've tried. And other people might all of a sudden go like, oh, I'm enjoying this. And that's great. So you found a passion that you want to pursue, so do it. So yeah, no, I'm really happy when I hear that.
Jealous, who actually got me back into WoW, they've had guests that end up creating shows. It was Dungeon Crawlers Network that brought me back to WoW, because someone in their group, I came into it because they were doing an ESO podcast, and one of their members was streaming WoW. I was like, wow, I should pay $15 and get back into it. So Jealous, you are the reason that I've never been able to leave now. So when did you realize that you had a passion for podcasting?
It started, I think, with Girls Gone WoW, that I really just enjoyed talking. I've always enjoyed talking. I noticed that I'm painting my boyfriend in a very bad light by saying this. We jokingly sometimes joke about one of the things he once said to me in the beginning of our relationship, which was, do you ever shut up? To which I now reply, no. Exactly,
yeah. Why should you?
So it's a running joke now between us. But yeah, I talk a lot. So that's why. I think podcasting suits me. I am very opinionated as well. And I think at that point that I thought, well, I can at least express myself on a podcast without being interrupted by anyone else, or, having to go on the forums and just, have all these haters coming on. I'm like, I can say whatever I want on the podcast, and that fits me just perfect. And I think at a certain point with Whispers, I think after I hit 50 shows, I felt like, this is actually something that I'm really enjoy doing, and I want to continue this. And then, of course, after I got certain people on, it became even like a bigger thing. We always get taught not to be prideful about things, but I'm actually quite proud of some of the people that I managed to get on the show. And
you should be proud.
Well, yeah, it sounds arrogant, and it sounds really, it sounds like I shouldn't be saying that, but I do feel like I should be proud of what I've achieved. And I'm also really happy when then afterwards these guests say, oh, I really enjoyed that, and you're so easy to talk to. That makes me feel really good, because I'm like, okay, I'm not shit at what I'm doing.
Oh, and you aren't, because you are great. Like even just like, I feel comfortable talking to you right now, and this is my show, and you're making me feel comfortable, so I appreciate that.
See, that's the tutor in me. That's because I used to teach, so I used to have all these kids, so that's probably why.
Hey, I'm still a kid at heart, in so many ways.
Everyone is.
What would you say is an obstacle that you've had to overcome in podcasting?
Insecurity?
Yes.
I think insecurity, I know this sounds bad, but I'm not going to lie. Everyone who produces something wants people to experience it.
Yeah.
I know that some people say, and it's very admirable that they go like, oh, I don't care if people download or listen to me. I fucking do. I do care if people listen to what I create, because I put time and effort in it. And it's nice to sometimes see that people are at least, listening to your stuff. At least you get a tiny bit of acknowledgement there. So when that doesn't happen in the beginning, you do wonder, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? And I think I've gotten over that, because nowadays I'm like, when someone complains about anything on the podcast, I'm like, well, that's a you problem. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
Because I'm happy where I'm at with the podcast. But I think insecurity was a big thing in the beginning. I think thinking you're not good enough, I've stopped myself sometimes reaching out to certain people because I was afraid of rejection. Whereas now I would be like, well, yeah, okay, what's the worst they can say? No. Fine. Yeah. I'll try and find someone else. That's really it. I think that's the biggest thing with podcasting. And then, of course, you get the technical stuff that you're like, why is this happening to me? With, recordings getting lost, or sound really weird, or anything like that, or guests sometimes not even showing up. It's stuff like that. It happens.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can learn from. But I think the biggest thing for me was insecurity.
Everything that you said, I echo, because I struggle every week with insecurity. And I will say this podcast has helped me be more secure, and especially like and everything that I'm going through. I'm glad that the podcast built up my security. So have you found that like it's helped you in your confidence in your life?
Yeah. Hearing people say, oh, you interview really well, or it's so easy to talk to you, has made me also, when I have to talk to people in work people that I find really intimidating, because they're really high up the ladder, or, they're all academia. I'm like, I don't do that kind of stuff. It has given me a certain confidence that I know I can talk to people. And it's nice to hear that people find it easy to talk to me, because I don't shy away from a conversation with people now anymore. So I do feel like I have grown in confidence and just, the general talking to anyone, really.
It's fascinating that talking into the void of like possibly thousands of people, how that takes away any fear in real life.
Yeah. I think that is easier because you don't see people directly.
Yeah.
And especially like when I interview, I always say I'm not having my camera on, just because one, I get distracted with my own face, like, oh, do I really look like that? Oh, so I tend to not do that. And just hearing a voice at times just makes me more conscious of me. And I do have to say that I have tics. I know that I have speaking tics that I'm like, oh, that is horrible. But you know what? I had to deal with kids who were teens, so they already picked up on that. I don't care anymore. So be it.
And it humanizes you. I've got my own weaknesses that I'm working through. And as somebody said, I may see it every single time I'm editing, but it makes me show that I'm not on some pedestal, that I'm not perfect.
Well, you're not a robot,
Yeah.
So that, I think, and that's also what you learn later on. Like when you do your first podcast, you want to make it perfect. So you spend like hours on it with editing. That was very, very quickly that I went like, yeah, fuck this. I don't want to do this. I don't like listening to my voice in entirety. So nowadays when I podcast, I'm just like, okay, I heard something here that needs to be edited. I'll make a note of it. I'll cut some things out. I'll just see if the two sound files or more, depending on how many people I talk to, line up. Yeah, it's fine. Out. That's it.
What has been one of the best things to happen to you since you started podcasting?
I know this sounds so overly cheesy, but it's meeting all these new people.
Oh, yes.
I know it sounds so cheesy. I know it because I even asked that question on my podcast with what has the community meant to you. I really do believe that, having done this podcast means that I've come into contact with so many people like yourselves and the people from the DPS crew and it's just been great. All the amazing guests I've talked to. It's just really nice that you find people who are enjoying the same thing that you do. Maybe different things that they do in the game, but they still enjoy the same game.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like I have gotten like an even bigger friend group. Even though it's all online, I don't care. That's like my friend group.
I echo that. Like online is my friend, and I'm actually even changing that to be my family, because the people I meet online accept me for who I am. And you never realize how like it's weird that somebody across a screen can mean so much to you, but they do.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I've met some amazing people through here, and it's just really nice seeing what the community can do for each other. And yeah, I like that. I think that the podcasting community especially is a very warm nest, and I feel like people really help each other out.
One way that we can help people who are listening right now, what advice would you give to someone wanting to get into podcasting?
I know that everyone says just do it. I agree with do it, but I'm very much a planner. So do have a plan in place. Know what you want to talk about.
Yes.
And with that, I mean, yes, you can pick a random game or topic, but if you want to do it for the long run, you do have to make a plan of, okay, well, what are you going to talk about? What sort of subjects are you going to do? Because you don't want to, have dry, like no content. And that's it, like a dry spell of, well, there's nothing to say now. What am I going to do? You need to have a bit of a plan of, okay, so what do I want in there? Do I want segments? Do I want all of those things? And I think one of the most crucial things is if you want to podcast, invest in a microphone. It doesn't have to cost thousands of pounds or dollars.
Yeah.
But your sound is very, very important. So a good microphone and a good recording program. And unfortunately for most of them, you do need to put some money down if you want to record with other people.
Because one thing that I find when I'm listening to a podcast, if they sound like they're in my ear, not like the ASMR, like right in your ear, but more if they sound like they're there and I don't feel like I'm distanced, I connect with them a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. And it's things like tinny sounds or an echo or and I'm like the furthest from like I said, I don't do editing, and I know that sometimes the audio quality is a little bit worse, but it could be much worse if I had a really shit microphone or if I didn't have a good audio program, things like that. And I think that's when you really see, because think of it yourself, do you want to listen to someone that you can hardly hear or that has weird pitches or an echo that gives you a headache? You don't.
Yeah, and you can start one way, but like have that goal in mind. And I don't want it to sound like elitist, but there's a lot of competition out there. So if you can sound as good as you can, you set yourself up from everybody else. Exactly.
That already sets you apart. I'm not going to say a little bit more professional, but at least people are like, okay, this is not done in some basement with your headset. And, it's just a little bit more that it sounds just easier to listen to, I guess.
Absolutely. And this is someone that came from, like, my first episode was not great audio quality. So
I think we've all been there because you have to, that's the thing, you have to experiment. And I know that some people have real issues with, was it Medras who said to me, the first 10 episodes, you record them and then you never put them out.
I've found some of Medras' first 10 episodes. So
yeah, and I mean, I recorded 10 episodes and I was fine with it just being out. But
yeah, me too.
You do hear a difference. You do hear a definite difference because you learn. And I think especially if you're not quite sure if you want to do this, don't invest all your money in it just yet, because podcasting is not a money maker for the most of us. It is absolutely not a money maker. You need to do it because you really, really love it and because you love talking about the subject.
Absolutely. And if I was in this to make money, I'm in the wrong field. Fandangly is asking, how long did it take you to write the intro of your first podcast? They feel like it would take them months of doubting.
Does Fandangly mean the intro of the sounder? Because there is no credit for that for me. That is all Tom. So
okay,
I did not do anything like that. Tom is amazing and created that intro, and I'm just still blown away by that quality because it makes it sound amazing immediately.
I just realized Wizards of War is like a Tom sandwich. Tom's in the intro and Tom's in the outro.
Yeah, we could call it that.
That sounds so wrong, and I didn't mean to tell like that. Sometimes my phrasing and stuff sounds like art, but another amazing talent that you do is art.
Well, again, it's one of those things, like, it's really nice hearing it from other people. I don't think it's that great. I think it's good enough. It could be better, but it was better back in the day, but I've been slacking in the last several years. until I picked it up recently again, and I've unlearned a lot of useful skills that I picked up when I was younger, and I'm a bit rusty, but I'm getting to the point that I'm like more like happy with my artwork.
How did you get into creating art?
I think I was just a kid and I love drawing. I think when you're, because I'm an only child, you get very much, you entertain yourself, and drawing quickly was one of those things that I really enjoyed. And when you get praise as a kid of like, oh, that looks really pretty, you just always keep doing that. So I think I was always drawing, even like kindergarten and things like that. I just enjoyed doing that. And then of course there was middle school, and art class was my favorite. So that was really when it started. And I went to, I don't know how Americans call it, but art school. It's like university, but then for arts. I did that 1 or 2 years, but it wasn't for me, because I'm not the kind of person who likes to roll around naked on a piece of paper and then, have paint all over it and then say that's my most inner expression of self-doubt. That's not how I am. So I thought, This is not for me. I don't like doing this. Bye. So, I got into teaching, and that is really when my art started to, because I had no time anymore. I didn't draw anymore, and I didn't pick it up until a few years ago again. And then it simmered a little bit, and then I got back into it. I think, in all fairness, lockdown has really put me back into drawing.
Absolutely. I think lockdown has helped a lot of people. Like, I've hungered down on my creative pursuits in lockdown because it's a way to express yourself to the world. It's
an incredible stress reliever for me. Like I said, when I paint, it's like oh yeah, this is really good, and then like, oh no, it's not going how I want it. You can see the like, oh no, and then all of a sudden, okay, maybe if I do this, oh yeah, and then at a certain point I'm like, okay, this is good enough. I'm stopping now before I ruin it. Yeah, it sucks me in sometimes 4 or 5 hours. All of a sudden, I'm like looking at the clock and I'm like, really? Okay.
How do you start a piece?
Oh, that's difficult because I get so quickly distracted. I swear to God, I have like 100 sketches that I start because I have an idea.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have a notebook with things that I actually want to draw. And I have an idea for it, and I'm like, okay, I'll put this down so I don't forget. But when I have my pad on me, I'll start drawing immediately, and then I have a sketch so I know a base, and then I go to the next things. But when I really know, okay, this is what I want to draw now, what I want to put my time in, it can come from really weird things. Sometimes I see something like with a horror game, I'm like, okay, I want to draw a monster now. I really want to do this. This is what I have in my head, and I can't describe it. It's like you feel that need to create it. So that's what I do. I just do it right there and then, if I can. But I don't sit down and go like, okay, time to create something now. That doesn't work for me.
You have to have the idea before you can start it.
Yeah, I can't just force myself, okay, we're going to draw now. This is the designated hour. And that's why I write so much down. So I know, like, I have my ideas and I know what I want to do. And that's what I do. And sometimes I go, like, halfway in between. I'm like, actually, I want to do something else. And then that's what I do.
Do you ever go back to, like, an old half-finished piece and be like...
Oh, yeah. I've also have pieces that I went back through and went like, what the hell was I thinking here? And then I will alter it or I will leave it because I know that sometimes you have to give it more time. Sometimes it has to brew in the pot. I know that sounds really, really... That's something they would tell me at art school, which I always just rolled my eyes about. But there are some things that I'm just like, okay. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it just doesn't work. And that's the hardest thing, that you just go, oh, it's just shit. I don't like this. And then I just put it away for a very long time and I'll look at it again. And can I make this any better? And if I'm like, no, it just stays there. I can't be the kind of person who throw their art away. I can't do that. I was forced to rip up a drawing in art school. So they make you make this amazing artwork and then they say, okay, now you have to rip it up. Oh. And I hated that because they wanted you to feel that art was not that special and, you know, that you shouldn't put your emotion, you wouldn't be emotionally attached to your art. And I was just like, spent like 20 hours on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not happy with that, but
And
yeah.
were you given any warning when you started it?
No, none of us were.
Oh!
So you could see the shock of everyone, like, oh no. Yeah.
Wow!
That I don't know if that was teaching back in like the 90s, but that's how they did it. But oh my god, I hated it. That's probably why it didn't last.
What a dick move! Oh!
Yeah, it's horrible. I don't want to say much, but I think there's a special type of person who teaches on art school.
I can see that, and you wonder, do they enjoy seeing all this, all the cries of all the students? Oh,
Yeah, there is some. Yeah, it's a special breed. Let's just put it down to that.
so you mentioned insecurity earlier.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get past that voice in your head to do the things that you do?
Oh, that voice is very, very strong. The most of the time I do is try to drown it out with other things. Just try and stay busy. Of course, getting acknowledgement from others, that helps. It helps, but it's like a temporary fix. Because I think in the back of your mind, you're always like, oh, they're just lying. They're just lying because they care about you. The thing that my other half always hears is like, oh yeah, but you're just saying that because, you love me. That's why you do it. That's why you like it. And, the amount of times he has to say, no, this is really good. So I think insecurity is just one of those things that I don't think will ever go away. I think it is very deeply rooted in me, at least. I don't know for other people, but for me, it will always be there. But it's just, I cope with it by trying to do other things and trying to do things that make me happy and that distract me from that voice. Because if I really listen to that voice, I'll just get either a massive anxiety attack, or which could lead to depression, because I've been there in the past and I don't want to experience that again. Anxiety happens, especially now with what's going on in the world. I think it would be weird if you don't get anxiety from everything that you see in some form. But I know it's there. It will always be there. I just have to find coping mechanisms. And like I said, gaming, reading, and drawing, those are the biggest ones for me to fight it.
I have those anxiety and that doubt in my head all the time. I mean, I was lying awake one night this past week, and I could not get my mind to just shut off because it was had such a huge irrational fear, but it just kept gnawing at me.
Yeah, I think a favorite of mine is thinking about things that happened 10 years ago, and then thinking, oh, I could have done that, or why did that happen? And I'm like, I often have to say to myself, it's midnight. Shut up, Sil. You don't need this. It was 10 years ago. There's nothing you can do about it now. There's nothing you can do about yesterday. Just go forward and deal with everything that comes tomorrow.
Absolutely. I like what Fandango said. Insecurity can be useful. At least we know that we are checking up on ourselves and not just cruising along with a lackluster job.
Yeah.
I had a guest say anxiety and imposter syndrome at least shows you that you don't think that you're hot shit. And I'm like, it's so true. I mean, because if you don't have that, then you have a massive ego. Well, you might. I know Amanda does not have that voice in her head, but she is one of the kinds of people I know. So she does not have a massive ego. She's amazing. I
think there are some people who are incredibly strong.
Yes.
Who are very self-confident, which is great. I know I will never be one of those people.
Me either.
But I do applaud people who have that. And I think you have people who are very self-confident and don't doubt themselves. And then you have people who are just very arrogant.
That's
which is very misplaced, even that arrogance. And, I think you can be very confident but humble at the same time. And arrogant people can't be humble. I applaud people who can be very, very self-confident. I wish I could be, but I unless my persona changes a lot in the next couple of years, I don't think I will ever change, really.
I am amazed, though, at how much you put yourself out there. So that's an inspiration. And
thank you. I am quite an open book. As I always have said, I don't shy away from sharing very personal things on the podcast or on Facebook or with my friends or wherever, on Twitter even. But there is a part I don't show. There's always a part I don't show because you do know that people sometimes will judge you for it or will go, okay, I don't feel too confident with sharing that with people unless it's my other half. And I think he knows me so well. But he's the only one that I would share this with, or my mother. But other than that, there's always a part that I do close off for other people. But I guess it comes across that way because I am such an open book with most things.
You don't want to give people ammunition who don't know you truly.
I don't want to give the world everything about me. I already think that I'm quite open with certain things because people know my opinions. I'm not. I don't know. I don't feel a lot of embarrassment for things because I'm like, well, we're all freaking people. We're probably all dealing with the same things that I'm dealing with. But there are some things that I'm like, I don't want to give it as ammunition to people that, from my past or anything like that. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't. That's a thing that's for me and my other half or anything like that.
Though there is one thing that I bet that you could give the community though, and I'm gonna borrow from Whispers of War. What is a whisper or a shout that you want to give to the community?
Oh, there's so many things that I would say, but I think for the general community, do what makes you happy. Because if anything we've seen right now with what's going on in the world, I think you really need to find your happiness and do what makes you happy. If it doesn't hurt other people,
yeah,
and if it doesn't hurt yourself, because I know that some people take that to the extreme. But yeah, I think it's important that you find your passion. If that means that some people are very drastically I'm quitting my job now and I'm going to do this, that's great. I'm fully for that. But you also have to live. You do need to pay your rent or your mortgage. So be smart about it. But if you have, for me, if you have that passion for drawing, put some time aside to do it because it will be good for you in the long run. And you never know what it will lead to. But yeah, I think finding your happiness and doing things that make you happy is so important right now. Absolutely.
Because the stuff I'm doing, it's bringing me happiness. And if it wasn't for all this stuff, I would be in a whole different mind space right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you've noticed that, but I think when you're happy, that also spreads towards your friends or people around you. You start treating others differently. Because you don't, I don't want to call it self-loathing, but people, if you're unhappy with yourself, a lot of people lash out to everyone around them or try to put people down around them. And then I think if you're happy with what you're doing and you found that happiness, you can easily spread a little bit of happiness to others. So yeah, that's why I think, why be miserable and drag others down with you? Try to find something that could make you happy and potentially others happy as well.
Raise everybody else up instead of tearing down houses.
Exactly.
And you have brought happiness to me today, and I can't express how much fun I've had today. And sadly, we've come to the end of this. I mean, I know everyone always says, "Oh, we've come to the end of it," but as podcasters, we like to take care of your time as well, and also editing time. So
yeah, true.
That's why podcasters will be like, and now we've all run out of time. So where can we find you on the interwebs?
On the interwebs, I'm such a bad podcaster that I don't know my own links, so I'm just grabbing my paper now because I am notoriously bad at stuff like this. So you can find the podcast, I guess, on any platform really that can have a podcast, which is Whispers of War. Of course, you can also find me on Twitter, which is the podcast one is Whispers_of_war. My personal one is McMonkeys. That's MC Monkeys with a Z. And still doubtful if I'm going to be back on Twitch a lot, but Twitch is the same one. So twitch.tv/McMonkeys with 2 Zs. And that is actually also my Instagram account, I found out. So McMonkeys with 2 Zs, that's me as well.
I've been meaning to ask you, where did you get the name McMonkeys?
Oh, so McMonkeys, this is back in my League of Legends day, because before that I used to be Antler Girl on a lot of gamer tags because I used to play Druid, and back in the day the tier set was Antlers.
Yeah.
Then I started playing League of Legends and I thought, I don't need the community to know that I'm a girl. So I was thinking what would work, and I saw people, you stroll through the internet and I saw people saying muck this, muck that. And I went, oh, well, I'm a monkey in the sense of, I was born in 1980. My Chinese horoscope is a monkey, and I love monkeys. I think they're funny. So I thought, okay, let's do McMonkeys. And then I first wanted to do an S, but that was already taken. I thought, oh, let's be really hip and do a Z. So that's how I came up with the name. It was basically to show the community that I wasn't a girl because I didn't want to get harassed. And now thinking back of that, that's really bad, but
I can understand it. We still have ways to go. We've gotten better, but back when you started the username, I totally get it.
yeah. And now it's me. This is like the nickname I use everywhere, and it suits me now for some reason.
I love it.
Activating customized Orphan transporter.
Well, I am back at home of Ironforge until we one day reclaim Gnomergon.
I'm a gnome.
Let's look at what has been happening in the community.
Awesome. Let's do that. So runs for the Uncrafted Voidwing are happening right now. Follow @FriendshipMount on Twitter to find out when these runs happen. Get your ALTC before the Uncrafted Voidwing takes flight with the Shadowlands pre-patch. Each group is raising money for a different charity, and Perky Pugs is continuing to raise money for Rain this month. They have raised over 11,000 so far. They put out a tweet that they wanted to share some fun stats. Since the inception of Perky Pugs in 2016, they have given out 14,754 mounts and have raised $110,000 for charity. And they said none of this would have been possible without everyone in their community. And then our good friend and fellow warrior, Destin Fisto, is doing weekly AOTC carries. They have Horde on Saturdays and Alliance on Sundays starting at 3 p.m. Pacific until Shadowlands releases. And he is raising money this month for ASAN and has already raised over $1,000. And then Icy Veins reached out to him and interviewed him on his long journey to get 100% of the plate transmog, and they also talked with him about his future plans. Definitely give it a read. I love you, my friend. And Icy Veins reports that Redditor No Bromo 1 has collected all the available cloak transmogs in the game. Now, if they were only have cloaks and then one-handed short swords, it'd all be a bunch of cloak and daggers. And then do you want to do events either for fun or for charity? Mrs. Tryhard13 was in my chat and she told me about an add-on called Loot Appraiser Challenge. She had seen it on Cell Hill's Switch. Every participant goes into a dungeon and you set a timer and see how much loot each person gets. It sounds like a very fun challenge to add to the many ways our community is innovative. And then over in Bronze List Discord, Lady Dustfall announced a new inclusive female PvP Discord server called Battleground Babes. And she says this server is meant to be a safe space for women who play WoW to PvP without fear of harassment and discrimination. Any and all skill levels are welcome. We are here to help each other out and have fun. I consider this more of a social/beer league of PvP. Horde and Alliance are both welcome, and hopefully we can do some rated battlegrounds, arenas, and battlegrounds together for an awesome good time. Spread the word to your lady friends. So definitely check this out. Lady Duskfall is amazing, and I love this idea. And then Icy Veins reports that Sternbart is back again with a topographic map of Outland. These continue to be amazing, and I love seeing the passion that Sternbart has for this. And speaking about Outland, I'll points to a new piece called A Peaceful Day in Shatrath by DeWong. You'll find over 50 characters in the World's End Tavern. Grab yourself a pint and pursue this. And then Hockleus has made a wallpaper for @FlameItSarah. It is a gorgeous one of a night elf. And then Radio.io was saying, hey, Fall Guys, if you ever want to turn up the heat, the Warcraft community has some ideas. And it's showing the fight with Kill Jaden. And then Big Bad Hater put out a mock-up of some amazing Murloc and Moonkin costumes for Fall Guys. Oh, I would love this. And then Jay the Bard is back with another amazing Synthwave cover. OMG, this one is so amazing, just like the other ones. You are hearing just a sample, but streamers are allowed to play Jay's Synthwave VOD tracks in full on their streams. And then Wildhead shows off a gorgeous painted violin by the Feathered Phoenix about the life of Ysera. Now, reading the comments, the debate comes up on the effects of adding paint to a violin, and Wildhead states that the artist only does this to broken violins. It's kind of like how Wildhead is saying it gives them another use, just like how Wildhead describes Ysera's ascending to the sky after her death in Valshara. And then we have new videos this week to gush about, in audio form. I mean, I get the irony of discussing art and video and audio, but I've got links in the show notes so you can all check this out. Pete brought to my attention the Black Temple trailer redone by Hurricane. And then Icy Veins reports that IK Edit is back with a series of trailers for the different classes. And then while you are watching the videos, you may want some wow cookie shots. Matt Yan has made some amazing cookie shots. These look delicious. And maybe while having a wow cookie shot, you want to curl up with a nice book. Well, Wowhead has book recommendations from Novel87 on how to get into the WoW lore. And then Icy Veins has launched a new site called IcyWiki. Right now it covers Diablo Immortal and Valorant, but they want to expand the list of games included and they want your feedback. And this isn't quite a WoW thing, same with the IcyWiki, but it is in the wider geek community. At Mustang Art has made a combat wheelchair for D&D. And then Rush Charles has announced minifigures of the combat wheelchair. This is incredible, and it goes a long way to bringing representation to D&D. And then for this week's Twitch Spotlight, I know it might not be weekly, but I try to keep my ear to the ground for Twitch streamers to shout out. Well, I want to give a huge shout out to Toasty of All Things Azeroth, who is now affiliate! Make sure to give them a follow.
This has been another awesome episode of FrazlCast. Take it away, Frazzle Pants.
Thank you, Scruffy. Well, I want to announce that I'm on a new podcast called Translucidity with my friend Sash. You may remember them being on FrazlCast in the past. The new podcast is aiming to be a podcast by transgender people for everyone. And then over on YouTube, I uploaded the clip of me finally getting invincible, and Botconian says GG. And then Miss Susie Q says I got around to listening to the EJ and Raven episode. It was a very great episode, and they also enjoyed Translucidity episode 1. Thank you so much for the awesome comments, my friends. And then this next one. Sirius has made an amazing photo of me wearing one of the new outfits that I've gotten, and wow. It has been scary in my journey, and when your friend posts a picture like this, it makes you feel so cute. Okay. When I saw it, I started tearing up. And I don't have the proper words, but I just need to say, I need to say thank you, Sirius. Thank you so much. You see me. I cannot properly express my gratitude. And then over on YouTube, the climb to 100 subscribers on YouTube continues. Thank you to Onyx Angel, Generic Eric, Gamerslogical, and others for being some of the latest to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then over on Twitch, I've got new Frazzle sound effects, the air horn, the facepalm alert, the MGP sounder, and one that you may remember from episode 150. So those are all available with Frazzle. And every week, in addition to those who give back to this show with amazing words of encouragement, I also like to thank those who give back to this show financially. Thank you to Cap for gifting a sub this week. And thank you to my Twitch subs out there. Thank you to Amanda of Geek Herring, Austin of Frank's Hot Sauce Guild, Biggest Bennis, Bodconian, Urquhart, Cap, Cardfreck, Cosmic Valkyrie, Sai of Scrubs vs. the World, David Hunter, Dennis, Demi of Third Faction Show, Des Mephisto, Elucid91, Epic Insanity of Frozen Nerds, Vandangly, Fatbob1, Gamerslogical, Gia Miabia, Alionics, Arlo, Hottie Chicken, Her, Jaded 6ella, Jay, Generic Live, Jess, Jetta John 156, Carinza, Kawasaki, Lance Blizz Gamer, Leo Wild, Leo Weird, Lomo Geek, Lucas Grandma, Lucas of Cardiac Valley, Mal, Marty of Two Nerds Maybe More and 5.5, Michael of Two Nerds Maybe More in the Genome Project, Mikey of Rocky Mountain Blizzcast, Monica of Geek Herring, Nadagami, Nemovich, Only Shadowkin, Pandagosa, Heat of Storage Mount Azeroth, Phoenix Duet, Professor Awkward, Rob's Crippling Depression, Sassy Snorlax, Scissorlord, Sill of Whispers of War, Spaceboy 00013, Spaz Wesson, Palvettos, Taro, T Crunk 360, Helleroyd, Thex Scoob, Tom Turtle, Titolar, Trashella, Balmar 83, Felicia, Werewolf Hours, Zorts the Goblin, and Zidewinder. And thank you to Cap for the bits this week. If you want to support the show financially, please go to support.gnomepodcast.com. And if you have Prime Gaming, which used to be Twitch Prime, you can use your free Prime Gaming sub on my channel and get access to ad-free viewing and awesome emotes. And every bit of your support goes to helping support this labor of love. Thank you so much. Well, I am Frazley, and you can find the show at gnomepodcast.com. There you can catch past episodes and find out many of the places where you can subscribe to this show to get the Gnome Train coming to you every single week. Well, until next week, be awesome. And I hope you all know how much I love you, my friends.
FrazlCast is a fan podcast that covers Blizzard games. We are not affiliated with Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. Views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own. Some of the art, music, and sound effects come from Blizzard Games, and they are owned by Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. No copyright infringement is intended. This show is for the community, and it contains contributions from the community. The Gnome Train intro is by Allie of Dungeon Fables and All Things Azeroth. The opening music is by Brandon T. Blaylock. The Gnome Roar is by Jen of Morally Grey Podcast, and the Frazzle Pants bumper at the end is by the Scruffy Druid of Loot Optional and Viral Voice Arts.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.
It's been fun. Farewell!